And today's viewpoint comes to us from an editorial from China.org.cn, and it talks about China's cars. Now, the editorial goes on to say that the simple fact that China is now the world's largest consumer market has not gone unnoticed by large auto manufacturers. And incidentally, many of these companies have relied heavily on the Chinese market to reach their ambitious sales projections over the last few financial quarters. China represents a large opportunity for the automotive industry because car ownership is still relatively low nationwide. There is just only one vehicle for every 17 people. And because the country is enjoying higher levels of expendable income in ways that many people around the world have not seen before. Now, the editorial goes on to say that if current readjusted projections hold true and China is beginning to downshift its annual double-digit growth, major blows could be felt by some of the largest international auto manufacturers. China represents a large opportunity for the automotive industry. The truth is, whenever you have an exceptionally large consumer market concentrated in one country, those consumer preferences, trends, and habits will affect the world's markets in a dramatic way. And when a large consumer market like China slows its growth by even a few percentage points, manufacturers the world over will be greatly influenced. The editorial goes on to say that lower car sales in China might mean big losses for preferred Western brands like Audi and Volkswagen. Now, reports are emerging that Japanese auto manufacturers are taking a beating as well. Toyota's month-on-month Chinese sales are down 40% for September. Of course, a lack of recent Japanese auto sales may be attributed to a sense of increased patriotism following the September 10th announcement of Japan's Diaoyu Island's purchase. However, Japanese brands are not the only auto companies to show decreasing sales in China. Countrywide, according to the editorial, automobile sales fell 12.5% from June to July of 2012. John Humphrey, who is a J.D. Power and Associates analyst, has suggested a slowdown in Chinese growth will reveal just how oversupplied the Chinese market is with various car brands and factories. It seems that over the last few years, the Chinese auto industry has been putting off a much-needed shakeout, the one similar to the U.S. auto manufacturing shakeout of the early 20th century. Many companies were started and only a few survived. However, it could be argued that this impending shakeout has been delayed due to extreme Chinese double-digit growth. Now, the editorial goes on to say that altogether, the country has the capacity using current infrastructure to create 28.5 million vehicles a year. But these capacities are 46% larger than consumers, are expected to buy this year, with purchases expected at just 19.5 million cars. The current infrastructure is a combination of the country's 48 domestic brands and 47 international brands that have been building manufacturing infrastructure in China. The editorial finishes off by saying that if we begin to see a government-implemented subsidy or tariff plans within the auto industry, preferences will shift towards available Chinese brand domestic vehicles. Those available domestic brands are creating newer, more preferred model cars featuring better safety technology. Even without any government incentives, we see Chinese auto manufacturers growing in their global exports, especially to areas like Southeast Asia and Africa. Truthfully, we can expect an increase in Chinese auto manufacturing and increased global demand from Chinese auto brands as their products continue to be safer, more creative, and more reliable. So it appears as though Chinese automakers are starting to have their time in the spotlight.